Alrighty. We got, is this the end of CrossFit from World's Strongest Man, Mitchell Hooper? Oh boy. Let's see what your boy has to say.
Could this be the end for CrossFit as a brand? We all know what happened this past weekend
No,
with the tragic death
I don't know what happened.
of Lazar Jukic. And if you don't know, the video that I've put out up here highlights some of the events that led to his death, which were completely preventable. I'm going
Unforgivable tragedy? I don't know.
to go into some of the reactions from the athletes here, but I am donating from LHBK for the next 24 hours after this video is released a portion of the proceeds. We've donated tens of thousands of dollars already to fitness gyms, to strength gyms, to various different causes, and nothing feels more meaningful than this in this moment. So any purchase you make, the link is in the description and in the pinned comment, will contribute to the Lazar GoFundMe, which presumably will be used to bring his body back to Serbia, potentially for his family, for legal costs
Oh, dang.
associated with the negligence of his death. And I'm going to go into that now because it is so sad. The more that I learn, the more that I see. And I want to use my platform to be able to put this message out there with the ultimate goal of helping things improve, whether it helps to improve CrossFit, whether it helps to improve other sports, or it helps to improve even just local events that people are running, where maybe you give a second thought to the safety and what it truly means to put the athletes first.
Okay, so I used to do CrossFit. Even at a gym. I did it for like 6 months. And even before that little 6 month stint, I did it like at my house, like a little bit with like a bar, like a pull up bar in my backyard, like a couple dumbbells and like nothing crazy. I was just like, I did like workout shit at my house, very, like, I don't know, primitive and shit like that. There's no shot I'm actually learning like weightlifting at my house. It was just like, as long as the workout didn't have like weightlifting in there, I was like, okay, I could try to do this. That type of shit. But during that time, and like a couple, like, cause like once I stopped going to the gym, because like if you sign up for like a CrossFit gym, it's like pretty fucking expensive. I would still keep up with it. I enjoyed watching the CrossFit games on TV. I like, even after I got done, I still liked watching it because I just thought it was cool. Like, these guys are getting paid to work out. I thought that was the coolest thing. And during like one of the years, it was like, I don't know what tournament it was at. It was at some tournament. There was some dude doing like snatches, but I think they were doing like heavy snatches. But the dude went up into like the squat position for it, and then he tried to catch it, and that shit fucking like came crashing down on the back of his neck, and that dude like became paralyzed from that shit. And yeah, like he was like wheelchair bound for like the rest of his life. And I think even after, so like even that time, it like you could have asked the question, is CrossFit done? Uh, the whole concept of doing physical sport and potentially risking your own health is not something unique to CrossFit. One of the reasons why CrossFit gets a bad rap is because if there ever is an accident, it's not from, seldom is it ever from like high level people. Guys that are like, I don't know what he was referencing, what video he was talking about. Um, it's usually from people that have bad form in performing the movements. Um, Seldom have I ever watched the last heat of a CrossFit tournament and seen any of those guys get injured. Usually, there's like multiple heats, and like there's heat one, just, depending on how many people are in the tournament. There's like 1 through 4. The fourth heat is like the good one where everyone watches. All the skilled guys are in the fourth heat because you can't have all the good guys in the first heat because else like nobody would like actually try. So you have all like the beginner guys in the first heat, and then so on with like heat 2 and 3 and whatever. If there is an injury, it's probably from a lesser skilled person. Uh, That's just my experience in like watching CrossFit. But I don't know. Maybe this could be different.
Now I want to go back all the way to 2020. 1,200 gyms of 1,500 CrossFit affiliates left. And this was over a tweet by Greg Glassman trivializing George Floyd's death, making a joke about the coronavirus.
Oh yeah, he did that. Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, the Greg Glassman dude was the original dude that made CrossFit, and I forgot why he just like had to like step away, but I guess it was because he was saying some dumb shit on Twitter.
Saying to the affiliates that we're not mourning for George. I don't think any of my staff are, and I'm not. Really just a history of being insensitive. Now, he left the organization, but that was a big, big hit for CrossFit. This is only 4 years later, and this feels much more substantial with the loss of one of their athletes. And I want to talk about the reaction of some of their fellow competitors and some high-name people coming out and speaking out against this. Now, the first is a friend of mine named Brent Fikowski. And
Oh yeah.
I think this message deserves to be read in full because it is absolutely shocking. Now, Brett put a post out saying, since 2020, I've done what I can to professionalize and improve the sport of CrossFit. With the support of others, we set up the Professional Fitness Athletes Association, which, by the way, they're on the cutting edge of fringe fitness sports in terms of trying to work with the organizations. I know that people...
Oh, so that is actually very interesting. So my guess would be it's kind of like an athletes union type of deal. I mean, I don't know. I'm just guessing. To where one of the goals of CrossFit is to be entertaining, at least the CrossFit games. And the things that are very entertaining to watch aren't necessarily the most healthy things for a person to perform. So because of that, I would imagine there's a little bit of pushback with we want these events at the CrossFit Games because they would draw a lot of people, they would look really unique, and plus it would fall under the umbrella of I don't know, functional fitness. Like under that umbrella, you could throw like any fucking move or whatever. And if some of the athletes are just simply haven't performed them, for the random factor, it would be more of like a true contest in that no one has practiced it. But with that comes the risk factor of performing some move that you haven't practiced before. So that's what I would guess that union is for. If the proposed moves or events get shown to the athletes, and then the athletes have to agree upon like, okay, yes, these moves are safe, these moves are not safe, ditch that one, we're not doing that. So that is what I would guess that is.
I've tried to work with World's Strongest Man many times in the past with things related to athlete safety and fairness and equipment and treating the athletes right.
Yeah.
And I've spoken to Brett about maybe starting the similar thing for strongman. So they set up the PFA.
Oh, so apparently the strongman is going through the same thing. There's a want for the tournament organizers to put on the most zany, outlandish, strong guy events, but the athletes are only so strong, okay?
And petition CrossFit on behalf of athletes to create a fairer playing field, standardized movements, and promote athlete safety. Now, he goes on to say, whilst I know CrossFit does not aim to hurt anybody, when they say safety is our number one priority, I simply have not believed this to be...
Oh, safety is our number one priority. So what CrossFit says and what CrossFit does are potentially two separate things.
Be true for a long time. I believe their top priority has always been their subjective definition of, quote, the test,
yeah,
end quote, and the creative freedom they wish to exert when inventing these workouts. Athlete safety concerns, at best, a paltry second, and this past weekend that strategy went terribly wrong with the most tragic of consequences. Now, this is the most shocking bit that I've discovered over the last couple of days, and hats off to Brent for coming out and talking about this, because he's laid out how the PFAA tried to work with CrossFit with some of the concerns that led to the passing of Lazar. Quote, to provide clear, unambiguous evidence of this, let me set out in detail how we as the PFAA tried to get more clarity on the heat in Texas for this year's CrossFit Games.
Oh, so that was the concern? It was too fucking hot during the CrossFit Games? Is that what was it? And then some dude like passed out and then he died because it was too hot? Or like heat exhaustion and shit? Was that it?
The heat clearly did play a role in the death, causing exhaustion
Oh.
on top of some of the negligence with the lack.
Yeah, bro. The states that are damn near so close to the equator on planet Earth, when we say it's hot, it's fucking hot. All right. I know this. I'm in Florida. It's fucking, not only is it hot, it's fucking humid.
Lack of lifeguards, potentially lack of training, lack of paying attention. In September 2023, Fort Worth.
Oh, wait. I think I know the video he's referencing. It was like during like the open ocean swim where there's like a bunch of dudes like swimming out and then they go around the cone. Or it was like the other way. And then some dude, I guess it was that guy, he just got exhausted and stopped swimming. And then I think the lifeguards that were out there, they just didn't see him. And so I think like he drowned. I think that's what happened. I could be wrong, but I did remember seeing a video that was like referencing this. That's crazy.
Worth, Texas is announced as the location of the 2024 CrossFit Games. On a non-CrossFit podcast, Dave Castro, who takes care of the programming for CrossFit, states that 95% of the events will be indoors. A few months later, in December...
Yeah, and probably that 5% that are outdoors are in the blazing heat.
December 2023, PFAA, which would be Brent and several other experienced athletes, emails CrossFit athletes to decide whether or not they paid a large amount of money to prepare by training in the heat to create the necessary physiological adaptations for this year's games, which...
Okay, so essentially it's the PFAA versus Dave Castro. I have seen Dave Castro on for like CrossFit over many years. He's the main dude that makes like all the programming and shit, and so that's what this is about. It's Dave Castro versus the PFAA. Okay. That's kind of crazy.
Would take a couple of weeks. Quote, we are unclear if this is necessary given some things we've heard regarding most of the tests being performed in an air-conditioned arena. However, the risk of being unprepared for the heat and performing outdoors is frightening.
Yeah. Over the years, CrossFit has done a lot of events, just like simply outside, either like long, like marathon, half marathon hikes, or open ocean swimming. Even like the early days of CrossFit, it would be like, there'd be like events where it's like run up that big ass hill with a pack on and then run back down. And it's like, it is entertaining to see people with the whole man versus nature aspect of the competition and the test. But there does have to come a point where, I mean, bro, you just gotta fucking like be better. Like whatever lifeguard you're hiring, like they have to do their job. If you're doing something like in the wilderness or some shit, you gotta clear out all the animals. You gotta fucking clear out all the damaging fucking plants and shit. Like if you're gonna do a path where people like run on or something like that, or I don't know.
Ideally, we would like a commitment on the number of events to be held outdoors, their duration, and the time of the day they are to be performed. CrossFit got back to the PFAA and said, quote, we are not releasing event details at this time, but we assure you that athlete safety is our number one priority when considering the climate in Fort Worth.
Well, I wouldn't say half, but there is a chunk of the CrossFit Games events that are revealed to the competitors, but there's another chunk that is not revealed to the competitors just for the sake of the whole random factor, the test. Just to see like how the athletes will perform in like this random environment, random event. And to some extent, as an audience member, that is kind of cool to watch people do something. Like these generally fit as fuck people just be like, get thrown into like some situation, and it's like, oh yeah, we're gonna see who's like the most fittest and who's the fastest or strongest or whatever. And I can't say that Dave Castro is wrong in any of this, because god damn it, some of these events are cool as hell to watch. Okay, so there is that aspect. I would be a hypocrite if I said, oh, all these events are all these like crazy events are not entertaining. They are. Okay, so there is that. But trying to find the line of where this is dangerous versus this is okay, that is the point of contention.
A few months after that, March 2024, PFAA sends CrossFit a 2-page document reiterating December's concerns in more detail and providing simple language they could use to give athletes enough detail to know how to acclimatize safety without divulging secrets of the workouts. Now, for those who don't know how CrossFit works, the athletes don't know a good chunk of the workouts before they actually turn up. And CrossFit is quite particular around how much time they give the athletes to prepare, even for the workouts that they do release, because their goal is to find the fittest. And they believe that the fittest should have general fitness and be competent in a lot of things all of the time. Now, CrossFit responded to this saying, quote, a much smaller percentage of events than Madison will occur outdoors, Madison being last year's event, which is inherently incredibly unclear. So the PFAA just distributes the document and their response via email, website, and Instagram. Quote, we then learned that CrossFit didn't like how we communicated their response. Dave Castro almost immediately divulges more valuable information on YouTube about the number of offsite events. We've tried to communicate professionally, and this is what we're met with. To me, this is a typical indication of CrossFit's lack of professionalism and interest in collaborating on safety concerns. I kept thinking, is this the best you can do for the athletes? This is the absolute simplest request. We're not even asking you to keep us out of the heat. We're just asking how often and how long we will be in the heat. Let the athletes living in colder climates know how they need to prepare. He goes on to...
Ooh, that is a good point. Since CrossFit is like a global thing, you have some athletes that are just used to the heat, like close to the equator, that kind of know what to expect. But then you have some athletes that are like more north, Greenland, Iceland, so on and so forth, like Norway, all the way up there. Those guys have been training in CrossFit. However, they don't have the luxury of experiencing the heat that the equator offers. They just don't know. So I would say it is more of a safety concern for those guys, especially. So it's a weather thing for some of the athletes. So that is crazy.
Say, during this time, I saw people online poking fun at athletes concerned about the heat, like it's a joke. Do people forget about Cara performing Murph in 2014?
Oh yeah. Wait, what was this? 2014. Didn't that girl? Yeah, she like passed out like either halfway or, oh my god, was it during? It wasn't during the first run, and this was like a fit ass chick too. She did the run, she did all that like push up, pull up, squat and shit, and then she did the other run, but I don't remember where exactly she like passed out from like heat exhaustion. Yeah, heat exhaustion has always just been a thing for some of these events, like long ass events.
Where she had an incident. Athletes need this information so they can prepare themselves safety. Now, this is just heartbreaking to see that lots of action was taken to try to prevent these concerns. Guys volunteering their time, Brent volunteering his time to try to make the sport as safe as possible. And I will read the end of this, which him and other athletes echo. They just want things to get better. This is not a sentiment against CrossFit in any way, but it is highlighting that things do need to change. Now he wraps up with this. Every year, my trust in the CrossFit Games staff's ability to run an effective competition erodes more and more.
Oh,
It's not a secret that many competing athletes resent the organization, and I've experienced that firsthand as well.
oh,
He goes on, then every so often when things seem to get too bad, we're asked to, quote, bury the hatchet, end quote, and come back to the table to collaborate. He says, with the death of Lazar, the trust is gone. We need change, and I, with my colleagues at the PFAA, hope to lead the way on behalf of all athletes, past, present, and future, to prevent something like this from happening again in a sport we love. Lazar is dead. Nothing will bring him back.
yeah.
Now, that is incredibly sad.
Yeah, and the fact that it takes like somebody's death to change things is like actually sad too. Whereas if you took the proper preventative measures in the beginning, he'd probably still be here. But for the sake of the test and the randomness, you chose not to, inform all the athletes of what they're going to be doing.
Sad. It makes it twice as sad that people went out of their way to try to correct these problems that they already knew existed. Pat Vellner, another member of the PFA and a member of the board, says in an Instagram post, quote, I do and love CrossFit. The sport has given me a lot, but that doesn't mean I support every decision that CrossFit Incorporated makes. This week I lost a close friend to a tragic, avoidable circumstances and had to mourn his loss in the most public way. A lot has been said, but a lot has gone unsaid, so I will say this plainly. Whether they withdrew or competed this weekend, athletes are in mourning. We are sad, we are scared, and importantly, we are angry.
Yeah.
I went to work this weekend to support my peers and lean on their support, to play an active role in making sure CrossFit could not just roll past this, and to put Lazar's name on the floor every chance I could, to keep the problem visible. And I will continue to do so. This does not end after the CrossFit Games. I'm committed to using my place in this sport to demand change. Along with others, I've been expressing concerns for years, and I'm not going anywhere. Now, this sentiment is matched by a handful of athletes where I've seen posts where they weren't competing to support CrossFit. They were competing in spite of CrossFit. The last one I'll read here is by Dan.
This issue seems like it can be taken care of, and seemingly the audience that watch CrossFit don't even have to know about it. It's simply the CrossFit Incorporated to athlete interaction that has to happen. They just need to, honestly, if CrossFit wants to survive and keep on going, they need to adhere to the things that the organization wants. What was it, the PFAA? Yeah, 100%, dude. Like, there's no shot because essentially, if you don't change anything, all those top level athletes are just gonna walk. All right, it's like all the top level athletes walk, and then what do you have? You're gonna have a bunch of random ass people, like I said, during like the first, second, and third heats, all moving up. All right, and they're not gonna be like as skilled as like that last heat type of person or whatever, and then you open yourself up to potentially more bad PR when people that are just simply less skilled are performing these moves at like a very intense rate or speed or whatever, and you just open yourself up to something else bad that can happen. Like somebody drops another weight on their head, somebody falls from a rope or something from like a high height. Why would you fucking allow that to happen?
Danny Spiegel, probably the most followed CrossFitter on the planet. In her Instagram post, she says, enough is enough. We have been begging for athlete safety for years, and it continues to fall on deaf ears. We as a community deserve better and need to come together to demand accountability if we are ever going to see actual change. Those are the three really telling pieces of content that athletes have put their neck on the line to put out there to basically say, this changes or we're done. And I can only imagine the feeling of other athletes who don't feel as confident to put their thoughts out there, who may also be thinking about being done as well. And it begs the question, can CrossFit continue without some sort of substantial change? On top of, can CrossFit even continue when this is investigated, when I assume there will be legal ramifications for the negligence that happened?
Yeah.
Now, I'm assuming negligence. To me, everything I've seen looks like it is negligence, potentially even criminal negligence, which would cause a big stir in CrossFit.
Oh yeah.
Now, like I highlighted at the outset, this
And CrossFit is already like under intense criticism with, you know, all the jacked people in CrossFit potentially doing PEDs and shit like that. They're already suspect for that shit. And then for people to like be dropping dead from events because of the environmental factor on top of it, it's not a good look.
This is not the first big controversy CrossFit's had, and unfortunately, CrossFit Incorporated and the CrossFit community are entirely different. I think in the strength world and strongman and in powerlifting, people often look down upon CrossFit and their community, thinking that it's a cult, it's a niche thing, it'd be hard to get into, it's not welcoming. The workouts are absurd, and the fact is that's not anything that I've experienced whatsoever. When I've gone to CrossFit events, when I've gone to CrossFit gyms, which I've gone to many, they are all welcoming with open arms, and I back the CrossFit community 100% to make it out of this. Do they make it out of this as CrossFit, or do they make it out of this as some variation, is yet to be seen.
I have no idea if CrossFit Incorporated had any brain cells, they would acquiesce to the request of the PFAA and get this shit straight. If they were smart. If they're stupid, they're just going to go along and do business as usual. And then we would have to see what the next move that the PFAA did.
The number one sport growing right now is called High Rocks, which is not that different from CrossFit. And frankly, it's not going to be surprising.
I had no idea what fucking High Rocks is. It's just like CrossFit. I mean, honestly, to the general population of people, I like if I see someone doing like some weightlifting shit, some like calisthenic shit, and then some running shit, that all falls under the umbrella of CrossFit to me. Like, I am not smart enough to see like the difference, to notice the distinction between the two, because you know when I was in it, you know, and I was like in the mix, paying attention to all the shit, I was like, oh, there's this whole another, like there was like a league or something of like a team of like, what was it, like 6 or 7 girls, 6 or 7 guys, and that's like a team. And then there's like another team, and then it's like this little stadium that's like divided up in like all this like grid shit. What was it called? The grid or something? That was a thing. And I watched it for like a little bit, but I don't know. I just like became disinterested because it's like, it's just more CrossFit.
If High Rocks passes CrossFit in popularity. I would love to know your guys' thoughts. And again, the link to the GoFundMe is in the description. It's also in the pinned comment. And any purchases made through the Lift Heavy Beacon store will be donated, a portion will be donated to Lazar's fund. This has been going extremely well. I put this out on Instagram a couple of days back, and the response has been incredible. And I want to keep giving you guys the ability to vote with your dollars to support Lazar. That's the world that I want to live in, and that's the best way that you can show that this is something that you care about, and this is something that's incredibly meaningful to you. I look to World's Strongest Man. I look to Giants Live. I look to Strongest Man on Earth. I look to the Rogue Invitational to see this event and think twice about everything that they ask the athletes to do, the conditions that they provide, and the circumstances by which they demand us to compete. If I ever felt inherently unsafe, I believe that I would be speaking up. But I also know that I've spoke up before, and some things have not been changed. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter what the organization was. It doesn't matter what it was about. But hopefully, athletes can see that concerns should be real, concerns should be respected, and concerns should bring about change. If not now, then when? And if not now, then CrossFit could be over. Go ahead, let me know in the comments what you guys think. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate any support you can give for Lazar. This is just compounding what I'd be able to donate myself through you guys. And forever, I'm grateful for that, and grateful for the Lift Heavy Beacon community that we are starting together. As per usual, you guys know, lift heavy, be kind, and we'll catch you tomorrow.
So I had no idea that, like, I saw like a random ass video talking about what happened with the open ocean swim. I didn't know that dude like passed away from it. I thought he just like passed out swimming and like they went to go get him and then like just brought him back. I didn't know he died from it. Holy shit. God dang. And to think that they just continued with the event, that's even crazier. Like, dang, dude. Ugh. Jesus. I mean, shit. But I don't know. Maybe. Like, do people even want uh, see, it's hard for me to like say anything because like I just simply don't pay attention to CrossFit anymore. It's like trying to learn like weightlifting and like doing that shit under like intense like other like duress with like running and jump roping and all that shit. It's very much a skill thing. And it's just like I am more content just like going to the gym and being a regular gym bro. But that's just me. Uh, Whether or not CrossFit can come back, I mean, shit, I don't know. I would like them to. Quit being fucking stupid and not telling the fucking competitors what they're doing, just for the sake of entertainment and the test. Yeah. But overall, good video. Bring some more attention to it, 100%. And hopefully, not only can CrossFit change, but hopefully, World's Strongest Man can change too. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll catch you guys on the next one. All right, later.